Hey, I'm back. Well, I know it's been a few days since I did a video. I think I do one every now and then. Um, what I want to talk to about tonight is how I found out about my daughter's father. Well, yeah, when the new year had begun, and I was telling my mother, and I was like, "Mom, this gonna be a good year this year. I could feel it, you know." But I had really started to give me a business going, and um, I was getting people calling. It was in the real estate, and I had goals and everything, and I'm still gonna pursue them. But I've been kind of down all year. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I was telling Mama it's gonna be a good year. Was getting all positive vibes, and the first 8 days was okay, and then January 9th rolls around, and I got up, I think, that day around 8 or 9. And usually when I wake up, the first thing I do, I look at my phone, I look at Facebook. So I get on Facebook and I see a message from his cousin, and his cousin says, "Hey, do you know about Tommy?" I said, "No, what's going on?" And he told me, it's like, "Well, Tommy is sick. He has stage 4 liver cancer, and his time is short here. Or he's not gonna be with us much longer." One or two, he said. So I told him to call me. I gave him my number. He called me. He explained everything to me. He explained how when he first went in, he had blood clots on his leg. Then he went in there about twice. I'm thinking it was twice. At first I thought it was 3 times, but the more I hear, I think it was twice he went into the hospital. Anyway, the first time he went in there, his friend Tasha, she was gonna go to the doctor to get checked out because I think it was her feet that was bothering her. And Tommy was like, well, he asked if he could go with her because his legs was bothering him. So they went in to get checked out, but unfortunately the hospital kept him because they found blood clots on his leg. They kept him for a few days. They sent him home. Now I'm thinking he went in there for that. I think either late November, early December, because he was okay for a week or two, a couple of weeks. Anyway, his Ronald told me, his time was short, and he told me he didn't think I knew about him, and I said, no, I ain't talked to him. And he was telling me that he was coherent and everything, and he understands, and he seemed to be in good spirit. Anyway, that day when I found out, I had called him, the hospital that he was at, I had called and talked with him like a couple hours later after I found out. Talked to him for a while. I told him I was coming up there, bringing Cheyenne up there to see him. Me and Cheyenne would come up to see him. He said, okay. I asked him if his mom there. He said, yeah, she asked me if mom been up there. He said, yeah, she's right here. You want to speak to her? So I talked to her for a minute. And I told her, that I was planning on coming up there. Not today, probably tomorrow, the next day. Anyway, I told her I loved her. She said, I love you too. And then she gave me back the phone to Tommy. And I told him I'll talk to him later and for him to, take it easy and stuff. Okay. Like I said, when Ronald had told me this, he explained to me about his blood clot in his legs, which his blood clot was in his legs. Then he had a blood clot in his lung, and they and see if it was transferring to his brain. He told me that he thought that's what the doctor was thinking. Anyway, the first time he went in there for that, okay, they sent him home. Okay, he was okay for a few weeks. Christmas rolls around. He's at his mom's house, his brothers and his sisters and his niece, nephews, and his son was over there. And I guess Tommy was lying down most of the time in his room, and he wasn't eating. It wasn't like one of his sisters had fixed him a plate, but he didn't want to eat. I guess he put his hand in her face, and shook his head he didn't want to eat nothing. So they noticed that he looked like he wasn't feeling good. His mom asked if he wanted his son to take him to the hospital. He said no. He'd be okay. Okay. The next day, I guess that's when he really got bad, when he was just lying around. His hands was shaking, and his mom and his mom and his mother's boyfriend was in the kitchen or something like that. And I don't know if I don't know, like he was about to pass out or whatever. Anyway, he wasn't good that day, so that's when they took him in the hospital. And they diagnosed him, and then that's when they kept him. Now, I found out on January 9th that he was in the hospital. January 10th, I went up there. I went up there the next day to see him. That was on a Thursday, I believe. Yeah. And it was me, my mother, and my daughter. We went to see him. His mom was there. His cousin who told me about, him being sick, well, his fiance and his mom was there, which was Tommy's aunt, and and then their kids were there when we went up there that Thursday. And we stayed for about an hour. He looked tired. When I looked at him, I could tell he had lost a lot of weight in his face. Speaking of that, let me get back to how they told him about he had cancer. The doctor checked him twice because they was like, they ran all kinds of tests and stuff. They were like, do you mind if we check his stomach? Because they noticed, well, the first time when they first ran some tests, they ran tests twice. First time I guess they checked his stomach, they couldn't find anything. So a few days later, they asked him again, do you mind if we check your stomach? Asked his mom, and mind if we check his stomach? Again, because he's not eating and he's getting slim in the face. He was losing weight. Mom said, go ahead, because they didn't think they were going to find anything, his mom and them, like, fine, go ahead, check his stomach, And that's when they caught the cancer, and they told him. Anyway, getting back to the day we went there, he was slim in the face, he looked tired. Come to find out, I think he had a stroke the night before. Well, Mom told me he had 3 strokes since he'd been sick, but he looked tired. I could tell he was slim in the face. He was talking, but his voice was kind of weak, and we stayed for about an hour. I told him I'll be back to see him. But I think between the 9th and the time he died, I only missed 2 times that I didn't see him in the hospital. Had I known sooner, earlier, I would have went, more, But anyway, the 10th rolls around. I went back up there, which was, what was the 10th? Was the 10th Friday? No, the 11th. I went on the 10th. 11th was Friday. Yeah, 11th was that Friday. Me and my brother went. He wanted to go, so it was just me and him. We went. We visited for a while. We stayed for about an hour that time. He looked a little better. He was laying on the side watching TV, and he looked a little better. Like he was more himself. We talked for a little bit. He seemed to be in good spirit. Saturday rolls around. It was me, my mother, and my daughter again. We went up there. That was in the evening because his mom wanted us to come up there because they were going to have a family meeting about him. When we got there, we didn't see his mom or his sisters or brother. The rest of them, it was just him and his nephew and a neighbor that was in his room with him. They were watching football. And I was asking him, where was his mom and stuff and everybody. And he was like, well, they all, I think, is in the cafeteria. Well, long story short, we, he looked it all right then, he was just watching TV. We finally seen him in the meeting room, but we stayed about an hour that time. We left. That was Saturday on the 12th. Sunday, I went by myself. He had it was a few visitors then too. He had Saturday was his brother, his sisters, his mom, a friend of the family, and a couple of cousins that was there in the meeting room, and his nephew, was in the room with him. That was that Saturday. Sunday, I went up there by myself. Later on, it came a couple of his aunts and a friend of the family, and his mom came up there for a little bit, and they gave him something, fixed him something to eat from home, her house. And he ate pretty good that day. I stayed the whole day. He wanted me to stay the night, and I did. I stayed that Sunday night, which happened to have been the 13th. Yeah, it was the 13th that day, January 13th. He was alright. He was talking, we watched TV. I stayed the night, the whole day. That Monday I left, I told him, well, I don't know if I'll be, which was the 14th. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be back up there Monday because somebody me, saying I said, but if I don't come Monday, I'll bring Cheyenne the following day. He said, okay. I gave him a kiss on the forehead, and I told him, I'll see you later. He looked like he was dozing in and out. He was asleep when I had left. Could tell you drowsy because he was talking about how weak he was and stuff. So that was the 14th. I didn't go back that on the 14th later that day. I just stayed at home. The 15th, me and my daughter had planned to go up there to stay the night with him. I called him. I say it was early evening, maybe 4 o'clock. Called him. He answered the phone, and I was like, "How you doing?" And he was like, "I'm doing good." His voice was stronger and everything. And that was on the 15th, that Tuesday. I said, "Can me and Cheyenne, can we come up to see?" He said, "Yeah, if you want to." He was like, "Why you wait so late?" I think it was like maybe 5 o'clock in the evening. But I could hear other people in the background talking. I don't know if it was doctors and stuff. Anyway, me and my daughter get up there, and it was 2 nurses at the desk, and I could tell that, I noticed the nurse from Sunday night, and as we were going to his room, the nurse that I recognized from Sunday night said, "Are you looking for Tommy?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, Tommy, he's got discharged this evening." I said, "Well," I said, "I didn't know you was getting discharged. We come all the way out here, and you tell me he's gone." He's just like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, sorry, but I could tell you or show you where he is or give you the name where he is. So she looked on her computer, and I didn't really look at the address because I just seen the name. So anyway, that night I was calling trying to get information about him. They were I don't know, that night, that was on the 15th. They were very vague about it when I called at the facility and went to. Anyway, and they said that the patients there, it was a nursing home, but they said the patients there didn't have phones in the room. When I finally did get in touch with them, and so I think that Wednesday when I found out all the information that Wednesday when I called him back. And so I talked to his other, because he got two other kids. He got a son that's older than my daughter, 2 years older, and he got a daughter that's 7 years younger than her, or almost 7 years younger than her. So I talked to his youngest daughter, the youngest one mother, and we were trying to figure out where he was. I told her, I don't know, she found out that he wasn't at the hospital anymore. So she was like, well, we finally got the address, and she said that her and her parents was going to go up there to see him, okay? They went up to see him that Wednesday, which happened to be the 16th, and she told me that she was going to tell me how he was when they got back, okay? So, after they got back from seeing him at the nursing home, his other daughter's mother told me, Carmel told me that she said, Tamara, he don't look too good. And I'm like, she's like, he just looked tired and he didn't look too good. So in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe he was just sleepy, maybe he was just sleepy, okay? Like how he looked when I left him that Monday, like falling asleep. So I wanted to find out more, and I asked her if I could speak to her mother. I said, so her mother, she said, because I let my mother tell you more about it, because my mother and dad, she's like, my mom and dad went up there to see him with me, and she's like, I think her dad is a doctor and her mother was a nurse. So I talked to her mother on the phone, and her mother was telling me how he was looking like he didn't look too good in that. Me and my daughter should go up there to see, me and Cheyenne should go up there to see him because tomorrow wasn't promised to us. And we need, when I go up there, ask if he's on any medication, if they give him any medication, and if he's eating. Okay. In my mind, I'm still thinking maybe he just was sleepy. So I told her I would, but I wasn't planning on going up there that Wednesday. Now, Thursday on the 17th, see, they went Wednesday the 16th. I went up to the nursing home by myself on the 17th. I get up there, and it was two of his cousins that were there. One was sitting on the side of his bed, and the other one was across from him. I go in there, I gave his cousin a hug. Tommy, I can't remember. He actually spoke to me. He looked different. He looked like he lost more weight. It looked like he aged a little bit, and he was just out of it. So then I understood what his other kid's mother was saying, and her mother was telling me, because it was like he was sleeping, but he had his eyes open, like in a daze, but he would snap out of it if you say Tommy, or if his cousins would say cuz, and he would respond and he would talk a little bit. But now that was January 17th, and one of his cousins, when I first went in there, was like, he looked a lot different than he did last time on there. I was like, last week on there, I said, yeah, he do. I forgot to mention that he had a few more cousins come up there. The first night I went up there to see him, and he was one of them that came up there. But anyway, he was telling like he looked a lot different. And man, he was breathing real hard and stuff. So finally, one of his cousins left. I know me fine, but you know me, not finally, but one of his cousins left, and his other cousin was telling me about he knew someone that was in there, but they had got out, and they doing all right. And that gave me a little hope. I was like, oh, that's good. And he was like, we talked a little bit, and he was saying something about he sure is breathing hard, because Tommy was breathing really hard. He was like, he sure is breathing hard. That medication shouldn't be making him breathe that hard. And I said, oh, so they are giving him medication or medicine. He said, yeah, they've been giving. I said, have they been feeding them? He said, yeah, they've been feeding them, but he haven't hardly been eating, because he said, I don't blame him, because the food didn't look really too good up there. So he said, but his mom said she'd probably come up there and get him, bring him something later on to eat and see if he eat. Okay. He said, and then his cousin went on to say that, that the cancer didn't spread to his brain, and that the doctors were saying like he'd be around a little longer than what was expected, because all his other organs didn't look too bad. Okay. It gave me a little hope, and we all were hoping. I stayed there, would visit there for about an hour that Thursday. Before I left, I told him, I said, Tommy, I'm getting ready to go. I said, I'm going to bring Cheyenne up here tomorrow to see you. Like I said, he was asleep, but he had his eyes open. He was just out of it, but then he'll snap out of it if you say. First, I don't know if he heard me, he was out of it, then he said, he turned his head and he said, what'd you say about Cheyenne? I said, I'm going to bring her up. We're going to be up here tomorrow to see you. He said, oh, okay. So anyway, move on to Friday the 18th. The 18th came around, and that day I was planning on going up there to see him. Me and his Carmel, which is his younger daughter's mother, was going to go up there together, and she was talking about we should go up there and bring us some food and stuff. We talked about this maybe a few days ago or whatever. So that morning I didn't go up there. I was planning on going up there later that day. And let me see. I had got my uncle messaged me and asked me how Tommy was doing. I said, well, he's doing all right, He said, well, I've been praying for him, and because he's been on my mind, and said, I'm going to keep him in my prayer. I said, thank you, do that, Uncle, And then I had messaged my brother to see if he could cut his hair. My brother didn't respond right away, but I remember his mother made mention about if, the time to get a shave and get his hair cut, about him getting a haircut and a shave that Sunday when I was there, the whole, most of the day. And I guess his brother was going to do it, but some came up where he couldn't. I said, well, I can ask my brother, so that's why I asked him, that Friday if he could cut his hair. Anyway, okay, after I messaged them, a phone rang. Okay, like I said, my brother, he didn't get back with me, but I'll get back to it later. The phone rings, my phone rings, and I didn't recognize the number, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's somebody. I answered it, and I thought maybe it might have been somebody that was interested in selling their property or purchasing one because I was into wholesaling real estate, and I'm still gonna do that. I'm still working on that. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I thought it was, because I had some people interested in selling properties and whatever, or looking for a property. I answered the phone. I heard a lady's voice. She said hello, but it sounded like it was other people in the background. Somehow, I don't know if she was talking to them too or whatever, but the phone hung up. The phone hung up. I don't know if I hung it up or we got disconnected somehow. She calls back, and I'm saying to myself, "Oh God, don't let nothing be wrong with Tommy. Lord, don't let it be about Tommy." I pick up the phone. I said hello. She says, "Tammy." Right then, it was his oldest sister. She said, "Tammy, it's me." I said, "Don't tell me, don't," because her voice was kind of trembling and shaking. I said, "Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me." She said, and we started crying on the phone for a few minutes, and she said, sorry. I told her I was sorry. And she said, "I'm sorry, Tammy, I was here when he took his last breath." I told her I was sorry, too, about him passing. I think I told her that. That day was, I can't remember everything, so I hung up the phone. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was crying, and I told my daughter. I just told her, and she looked at me. She didn't know what to say. And I said, "You knew he probably was that." She shook her head. I said, "You probably knew he was gonna pass, or had a feeling he was gonna pass away." She shook her head, yeah. Not too long after I got off the phone with his sister, I'm trying to think that day who called. My brother, I think, messaged me back. Somehow he messaged me back not too long after that. He said I could cut his hair tomorrow, meaning Saturday. I said, "Well, there won't be any tomorrow for Tommy. He passed away." And he was like, he gave his condolences. Think I told my uncle who I talked to on Messenger earlier about that he gave his condolences. I called my dad and told him that he died. My daughter told him that he died. When I talked to him, told him that he died, and he gave his condolences to us. Told my mother. She's like, "Oh no," she was asking how we were, and she gave her condolences. His other daughter's mother called me, and she was crying, and me and her was crying together. And I was like, "Yeah, I know he passed away." I got off the phone with her. That day, wow, that day was unreal. That's all I can say about it. It hurt me to my soul when I found out that he passed away. Me and him weren't still together, but like I said, we still did things together. As far as with my daughter, and we would like movies or whatever. And he was still like a companion to me, and I lost my best friend. Ever since that day, I just felt lost. Just felt lost. Um, we had our ups and downs. That was my best friend. He was the love of my life. I know now. Every day I think about him. All day long. And to look at him, person would never knew that he was sick, that he wasn't feeling good. He's the type of person, he didn't let nobody know when he was sick. It just really shocked all of us. I just want to say to him, everybody, to, how can I put this? You know, if you're with your kids, other parent or not, just cherish them while they're still here. Because I never would have thought he was going to be gone. Someone would have told me he was going to pass away this year. I wouldn't believe him. I'll just put it that way. This was a complete shock. Man. And now I look at people on Facebook that have a problem with their other, their kids, other parent, their baby mom or baby daddy. And I just be like, y'all are blessed to still have them around. Work it out. Work with each other. To co-parent, to be able to co-parent. There's not a day that don't go by where I wish Tommy was here. Everything, I would do it all over again. I would have him in my life. Tommy, I miss you. Rest in peace. You are truly missed. And I love you. Everybody else, whoever listens to this video, I have to apologize for being in the dark, because eventually y'all see my face, but y'all, some of y'all know what I look like anyways. I just, eventually I'll do videos with me showing my face again. I said again as if I was doing it before, but, yeah. Well, I may come back with another video in a day or two. Alright.